31 minutes past the hour. The primary in Illinois tomorrow could turn out to be a defining moment in the race for the Republican nomination. Mitt Romney routed Rick Santorum in Puerto Rico in the primary yesterday. He got over 80% of the vote, and he gets the full 20 delegates. Santorum, however, sounding surprisingly confident in spite of that, hoping for an upset in Illinois, where 54 delegates are at stake, making a bold prediction also, if he pulls it off.
If we're able to come out of Illinois with a huge or surprise win, I guarantee you that we will win this nomination.
So Santorum has a long way to go. The delegate count right now, Romney is at 518. Santorum is at 239. So let's talk to our political panel about this. Live from Washington, D.C., we have Joe Williams, White House reporter for Politico. Nice smile this morning. Here in New York, we have Democratic strategist Joe Hlinko, who is being seated. There you are.
Yes.
Good morning to you. Running a little late this morning. And then in Chicago, we have Lenny McAllister. Good morning to you. Thanks for being with us, gentlemen. All right, Joe, I'm going to start with you. Santorum isn't even eligible for 10 of those Illinois delegates, right? He didn't qualify for the ballots in 4 out of the 18 districts in Illinois. So how can he pull off this surprise win that he's talking about?
Well, I mean, he's managed to surprise and confound people before. This one looks like a bit more of a long shot. I ran into a Democratic operative a couple of days ago who said basically if Santorum had even a smaller organization, if he had better organization, even to a minor degree, he'd probably be the front runner by now because he's managed to excite the base. And he's done a lot of that by hand-to-hand, shaking the hands, pressing the flesh, retail politics that Mitt Romney is not so good at. So it's possible, but his disorganization makes it probably unlikely that he would A, triumph, and B, collect enough delegates to overcome or at least take a huge bite out of Mitt Romney's lead in Illinois.
And his lack of organization is what got him into this, right?
Pretty much, yeah. That's what got him into the fix, because it's not like nobody knew when these primaries were going to happen or that the schedule hadn't been set up at least a year and a half, 2 years in advance to make sure that everybody had enough time and knew what they needed to do to get every last delegate that they'd qualify for.
All right, Lenny, I'm going to switch gears over to you. So Romney was talking about the math, right? And this was last week that he was talking about that. He's talking about delegate math again on Fox News. Let's listen, and then we're going to chat about it.
I know a lot of people will talk about delegates and strategies and math, and that's all very interesting to the insiders. But I think the American people want to see someone who has the leadership skill and experience to defeat the president. I can't tell you exactly how the process is going to work, but I bet I'm going to become the nominee. I sure hope I'm going to become the nominee.
So, Lenny, he knows that he has to get the delegates in order to win, and the polling is showing there that it's a very tight race. What's at play in Illinois?
What's at play is once again being able to excite voters, and he's actually pivoting away from talking about that delegate math, because if you remember what it looked like coming out of Southern Tuesday last week, he was talking about how it was inevitable that the delegate math would not allow anybody else other than him to win the nomination. Well, that didn't play very well. Voters don't want to be excited about delegate math. They want to be excited about leadership. So what he's trying to do right now is pivot away from that. He should still win, obviously, the majority of delegates here should he win Illinois tomorrow, but he also needs to excite people. He needs to finally coalesce a base, get them behind him so that as he moves into Yankee primary, when you're coming into April and some of these other states going to the District of Columbia in April, etc., he can have momentum. He still does not have the momentum of the people to drive him. He's going to need the Tea Party momentum, which is really big here in Illinois, and other segments of the conservative base behind him so that by the time he gets to Tampa, he is not trying to forge alliances. He's trying to invigorate those alliances that he's forming now in the spring to go after President Obama in the fall.
You know what? I want to ask you one more question, and it's about Santorum, that big loss that he sustained in Puerto Rico because of the English language requirement there. Is that something that could actually help him in Illinois, do you think?
I think it will help him downstate. Now, Rick Santorum stayed consistent with this. He tried his best to ride the line, be consistent with his message, but be respectful to the cultural uniqueness of Puerto Rico. At the same time, you look at this other side, Mitt Romney, who has a reputation of flip-flopping, said he wanted English to be the official language of the United States at one point in time, goes down to Puerto Rico and completely backs away from that position. That situation right there will play well for Rick Santorum in regards to consistency and painting Mitt Romney as a flip-flopper. Will it be enough in Illinois? Maybe, maybe not. Will it be something that will come up later on in his campaign trail? Absolutely.
All right, I'd be curious to see how he does in Southern Illinois, so we'll watch that. John, I'm going to switch to you, and we're going to talk about gas prices. Again, we just showed a little while ago that they're actually swinging upwards again. Economists say that the presidents can't do much to affect prices, right? But tell that to 54% of the people who believe a president can do a lot to control gas prices. Charles Krauthammer is saying this as well. Yes, of course, presidents have no direct control over gas prices, but the American people know something about this president and his disdain for oil. To the American worker who doesn't commute by government motorcade and is getting fleeced every week at the pump, oil seems very much a fuel of the present and of the foreseeable future. So this affects people's wallets, obviously. What can President Obama do in order to ease this pain at the pump?
Well, the reality is there's not a heck of a lot he can do, at least in the short term. I mean, people would like to believe that the president has a magic wand that he can wave and, I mean, the reality
But the perception is there, right? What can you do to fight that perception? 54% of Americans believe that it is the president's fault.
Well, there is some talk about releasing some oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, which could help fight the perception. In other words, show some kind of action. Whether or not it makes sense is another question. But that is one thing that could help. It could at least let people know that he's trying to do something. I think the reality is we buy a lot of oil from some pretty dangerous places, and there's going to be shutoffs and there's going to be tensions in the Middle East. That's going to drive up prices. All the talk of war in Iran, that drives up prices. Frankly, the mishandled war in Iraq is still hurting us because Iraq could have been producing more oil, and that could have driven down the price. But, trying to explain that in a 30-second, soundbite, it's not easy. I suspect the president will open up the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, release some oil, and that should help the perception at least.
All right, we're going to talk a lot about that later. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Joe, Lenny, John, thanks for being with us. We'll see you again in the 6 o'clock hour.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.